Good morning, folks. Ken Hovind here in the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama, November the 14th. 10 days till Thanksgiving. Well, 11 days. It is today, Proverbs chapter 10, Solomon's advice about money. How many have ever made any money in your life? How many have ever needed to make more? How many never quite had enough? You've been there before. Okay. Talk about money this morning. We're not going to get very far in Proverbs chapter 10. I can tell you that right now. We're going to get started. Hey, Robin, good to see you. We're the folks who believe the Bible is true. God made everything in 6 days. Everything. Dinosaurs lived with man. They did not live millions of years ago. And evolution is the dumbest and most dangerous religious cult in the history of the world. There's never been a dumber idea than to believe we all are related to mosquitoes and whales. We all came from a rock, my rock here, which came from a dot of nothing. I can't believe people really believe, people with a brain actually believe that. Stop and think. You're related to a frog. Okay, right. All right. Anyway, we believe God ought to get the glory for his creation. He said he made everything in 6 days. Everything. Okay. And the fool said in his heart, there's no God. No God at all. Okay. We get our video series if you want more on that. Whole bunch of stuff on creation, evolution. Let's see. Dinosaurs, where they fit in, lies in the textbooks, the dangers of evolution, carbon dating. We cover it all. 18 hours for $50, and you get your money back when you send it back. I'm a little wired up this morning. I had a good sleep last night, a long drive. We drove down to Florida. What town were we in? Bell, Florida, about that big. Yeah. And had a good time with Sandra's in-laws and outlaws and all that. And what do you got? 4 sisters, no brothers. And how many grandkids are the cousins and nieces were there? They were everywhere.
No wonder you came back quickly.
Well, no wonder I came back. No, we had a blast. It was great. She had 4 younger sisters, and then each of them has a bunch of kids. And I don't know how many first cousins there would be. A lot. I didn't get all the names straight. Anyway, had a good time. But we're back. Hey, good morning. We believe the Bible is true, and you get our video series. If you want to find out what's coming up on planet Earth, according to the Bible anyway, maybe you don't care what the Bible says. You will. It's going to be true. What on earth is about to happen? God has already told us in the Bible what's going to happen next, and it's not looking good for planet Earth. You can get my book on the series, my book on that topic. We got some in finally, limited number, first come, first serve if you want to get the book, or the video series, What on Earth is About to Happen. Okay, more about that in a minute. You can subscribe to our channel, or better yet, Matt, we're now on all these channels, right? Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. And then if YouTube doesn't like what we say, too bad, right? Just teach the truth. Amen. Okay. And brand new tube. What is that?
A newer YouTube platform. Brother Dwayne actually introduced me to it. It's just like YouTube, but there's free speech.
Free speech? Think of that. Well, anyway, we're on those as of now, right?
Yep.
BitChute, Daily Motion. I don't know what any of these are. TikTok, I've heard of them, but oh well. We're on there. Tell your friends about it, just in case they shut us off again, which they probably will, because I intend to exercise my free speech, whether they want to hear it or not. Okay. All right. Come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. That's why they put me in prison. Come visit Dinosaur Adventureland, 1 mile north of downtown Lenox. There it is, folks. Lenox. After being in, what city? Tallahassee last night, just to try to get a hamburger. I'm thrilled to be in Lenox. The more I go to big cities, the more I like Lenox. You can have the whole big city yourself. Okay, Dinosaur Adventureland right there straight north of Pensacola. Come visit. It's all free. Visitors come from all over the place. If you're bored, come help us build Dinosaur Adventureland. It's all been built by volunteers and donations, some a little more skilled than others. Is that a kind way to say it? Okay. We have all kinds of videos. My slides, I've been spending a lifetime putting together PowerPoint slides for all my teaching on Seminar 1, 2, 3, and all the different Bible classes I've done. You can get all of them on a thumb drive for $100. 45,000 slides in PowerPoint. And I tweak them and use them all the time. And if you need help on how to do PowerPoint, that's the only program I know how to use, and I'm getting pretty good at it. So at 198 baptized now at Dinosaur Adventureland. We offer the real tour, the Science Center tour, the farm tour, and the playground set the record tour. It's all built by volunteers. There it is, Dinosaur Adventureland in the middle of the woods in Alabama. There's our Science Center, 12,000 square feet of cool science activities, 16 lakes and ponds for fishing. You'll love it out here. Thanksgiving dinner a week from this Thursday. You're all invited. Freddie? You can invite the whole world?
Everybody.
Everybody. Come on. You can cook for all that?
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem. We're going to have an emu?
Contemplating on that one.
Debbie says, yes, we should get rid of one of the male emus. He's kind of,
And turkey, so we have a fair comparison.
an emu and turkey. Okay.
It should be a duck and a chicken as well.
We can do that too.
I've been feeding all them ducks on the tour. There's like 60 of them come up and attack me. They're all wild ducks, but they don't know why I've been feeding them so well. But Freddie, whenever you're ready, cook them. Okay. It's also November. Here we are today on the 14th. November 24th, right there, 10 days from now, is our Big Bang Bible Believers. What is it called? Bible Believers Baptist Big Bang Blowout. That's a tongue-tangler. If you want to come for that, that's going to be on Wednesday night. And I take on all the atheists in the world. Come on. If you can't come, call in. We'll take you on by Skype. And then the next day, Thanksgiving, we'll feed you, house you, treat you like a king. I want you to feel. The founders of this country were thankful just to be alive. A whole bunch of them died the winter before, starvation. And the Indians saved their life. They were thankful to be alive. They said, let's have a Thanksgiving party. Thank you for keeping us going. We should be thankful to God. You can spend all night. We'll give you a tour, Dinosaur Adventureland, and free Thanksgiving dinner. If evolution is such an obvious truth, come prove it. We don't believe it at all. We think you're either mistaken or deceived or lying. There's no evidence for evolution. Give the best 3 evidences you got. If you got 5, we'll take 5, okay? And Matt and I will explain it to you. No, you don't have any. So you can call Steve or Matt or Damien to make arrangements to be on Skype or with us by Skype or some other program. There we are. And next day, you can spend time fishing in one of our lakes or something like that. First annual Thanksgiving meal at Dinosaur Adventureland for Invite the World. Fair enough? Freddie, you can cook it, right?
Yep.
Now that we got that huge commercial kitchen for like, what, $50,000 worth of stuff for $1,500. And
Praise God.
Yeah, you still get more stuff.
I got more stuff. Yeah. God is good. It's just some of his kids drive me nuts. But okay, let's see. Here we are. Help us to open for free. Join our 777 club. Go to drdino.com. Make any checks to CSE, Creation Science. All right. Proverbs chapter 1 starts off in the book of Proverbs, pretty much the middle of the Bible. If you open your Bible to the middle, you should hit the book of Psalms, and right after that's Proverbs. He gives the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. The whole book of Solomon is Solomon giving wisdom to his son. Now, he probably had a whole bunch of sons because he had 700 wives and 300 porcupines. So he had a whole bunch of kids, I'm suspecting. So, but it gives you the picture here. The creation, according to the Bible, was about 6,000 years ago. Then there was a big flood that destroyed the world and made most of the geologic features we see today, like all the layers of the earth deposited in a flood, not millions of years apart, like the geologic column they teach, which is baloney. After the flood, God called a guy named Abraham. Abram changed his name to Abraham. He became the father of all the Jews in the world. And most of the Arabs are descended from Abraham. He got a little impatient waiting for God to get his promise. So his wife said, honey, marry my servant girl. Major mistake. How many of you have ever made a big mistake that cost you a bunch of money? Anybody ever done one of that? Like, don't push that button. Okay. Later, we see God calling a guy named David to be the king of Israel. As a kid, he killed Goliath with a rock, And later, he grew up and became second king, King Saul, and then King David. David had a son named King Solomon. Okay. Here we are today, waiting for the Lord to come back. So we're back here about 1000 BC in this study, and we're on slide number 821, I think. Yeah, Proverbs 10. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father. How many have ever had your son do something stupid that made you embarrassed? Anybody have a son that made you embarrassed? Do something stupid? But a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. It hurts mom's feelings and dad's feelings when their son does something dumb. He didn't dream of becoming an addict when he grew up. How many parents are just frustrated to death because their kids got addicted to something? It's unreal. A foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Anyway, let's see. When kids don't care about the consequences, 7 tips for parents. Are you a foolish son that is the heaviness of his mother? Some of you are listening to me. Your mother's embarrassed about you. Now, maybe that doesn't bother you. I think it ought to. I wanted my mom and dad to be proud of me. I had a great mom and dad. I really did. Mom was a kindergarten teacher for years, retired from teaching kindergarten. Beautiful blonde Norwegian. My dad ex-Marine, World War II, only survivor of his platoon. Came home, got married to his childhood sweetheart, and had 3 boys and a girl. And I'm the third son. And I wanted Dad to be proud and Mom to be proud. A lot of my friends were doing dumb stuff in school, and I said, I can't do that. My dad wouldn't like it. Who cares what your dad thinks? I do. Dad, are you the kind of dad or mom that your kids, should they care what you think? Are you just impossible to please? Well, then they're not going to care what you think. Do you ever compliment them and say, good job? Ashamed or embarrassed? Which one should I use? Some people are just ashamed. I was in prison with a whole bunch of people their parents were ashamed of them. They should have been. You moron, you dummy, look what you did. Just Google stupid things people do and watch some of the. What were you thinking? Thinking, what's that? Okay. Reasons not to steal. I suspect that kid stole one of them trucks. What do you think? A little fishy here. Well, God said don't do it. That's one good reason. You might embarrass your parents. That's a good reason. It's to be a deterrent to not steal. The fear of a penalty. You might get caught. You might reap what you sow. Somebody might steal from you. The owner might beat you to death if he finds you stole his truck. There's all kinds of reasons to not steal. Which one motivates you? Some people, nothing motivates them. A wise man can learn more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. I think we need to understand about money, and Solomon's going to give advice to his sons about money. If we understand, what is the devil's goal? There's a war going on between God and Satan. In any sport, if you're on defense, what you have to always keep in mind is what's his goal. If I'm in a basketball game and I'm on defense and he's got the ball, this guy may fake right, fake left, but his goal is the basket, right? Forget all the faking stuff. He's trying to get to that basket. My job is to stop him. What is Satan's job? What does he want to accomplish? What does he want us to do? What's your job in life? What are you supposed to be doing anyway? Solomon's going to give advice to his son here, and we're probably only going to get through 2 verses today. I don't know. We're going to try. He said, treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. This book of Proverbs contains a lot of Solomon's wisdom to his son about money. Why is money so important? Well, let's take a look at a little bit of the history of money and how it all ties in. And this, I think, will pull things together for you like, oh, that's why all this is happening now. Why are they trying to reduce the population? Why are some people intent on killing everybody off? What is going on? There's a much bigger picture. And I've always been one of those guys. I like to step back and see the big picture. Most men, they want to see the map first. We come in the science center. Here's the map of the property. Okay. Women want to start with the details, If you ask them, say, so one lady says to another lady, would you go get my ring? Where is it? It's on the dresser. Oh, what dresser? The one in my bedroom. Oh, where do you live? Oh, in that White House. Oh, what's your address? They'll start with the ring and work out to go to Alabama first. The men want to say, first you go to Alabama, then you go to Lenox, then you go to the house on this street, then you go in the bedroom on the left and pick up the ring. How many know what I'm talking about? Men just think different. They start with the big picture and just focus in. Women start with the little picture. It takes you an hour to figure out what they're talking about. Anyway, so Solomon's going to give his advice about money. Why is money important anyway? Well, ever since man was expelled from the Garden of Eden and was commanded to work, men have sought for ways to make others work while they profit. God told Adam, you got to work, son. And ever since then, people have tried to figure out a way to live off other people's labor. They don't want to sweat. They want you to sweat. People always want a way to get rich quick, a practical way to get rich and die trying. It's always about the money. Just coming to the realization, It's always about the money. If they say it's not, they're lying. It's always about the money. Let's see. Money only impresses lazy girls. When a woman works hard, a man with money is a bonus, not a ladder to upgrade. A lot of wisdom there, fellas. Pay attention. Read that one again, okay? When you go to pick up the girl on a date and you're driving a 1963 Volkswagen and she falls in love with you, you know it ain't for the car. That's what Don't get a big fancy Ferrari and go out on your first date. You will never know if she loves you or loves your money. Okay? A little bit of wisdom there, fellas. Okay. Welcome to our society where you can find any help you can possibly need as long as you have money. Need to get the sewer cleaned out? No problem. Got money? Need to get the gutters cleaned out? Need to pick up all the cow poop in the pasture? No problem. What's that? A problem? Throw more money at it. That's a government attitude, right? Throw more money. My funds for the week, a penny. How many have ever played Monopoly? Ever played Monopoly? How many have ever played Monopoly and you won? You ever won? You know that feeling you get when it's your turn to roll the dice and you're sitting there and you own 3/4 of the board and you got $10,000 cash. Are you afraid to roll the dice for fear you might land someplace you don't want to be? Nah. You land on somebody else's property. How much is it? 200, 300. Here's 500. Keep the change. Now, it's just an attitude. You can feel the attitude when you play Monopoly. Okay. How many of you ever played Monopoly and you lost? You ever lost? Okay. I know what you're thinking. I've never played with any of you, but I know what you're thinking. It's your turn to roll the dice. You're completely broke. You got $3 left. And the other guy owns the whole board. You're rolling the dice a little longer than normal because you're praying. You're saying, Lord, I would like to go to jail. Please, Father. You know what I'm talking about? It's the only safe place to go. Broke. Money is the medium with which we can hire others to work for us. Here's how it all started 6,000 years ago. I think this will make sense. Hope it does today. We all know the story, Genesis 3, how Satan tempted Eve. You know why? Why did he have to go after Adam and Eve? Let's look closer how it all started to understand the big picture. You girls have to play this tape backwards so you can figure it out, okay? What's happening in our world today? Well, there's a war going on between God and Satan. Very simple. Satan wants to take over the world. How many of you have ever seen Pinky and the Brain? His own every day. What are we going to do today, Brain? We're going to take over the world. Same thing we do every day, Pinky. take over the world. Satan wants to be God. He has fooled millions into helping him in his long war against God. You want to read a good book, one that changed my life, Henry Morris' book, The Long War Against God, is fabulous. We sell it now. I got 3 or 4 copies in here someplace. I'm sure they've had different covers on it over the year. Excellent book by Henry Morris, who was a friend of mine. Fabulous book. If you can only read, 10 or 15 books in your lifetime, make that one of them. Okay, it's excellent. Here's what happened. God made Adam on day 6. The whole creation was 6 days. During that creation, God made everything, including Satan. Satan was created. He's one of the created beings. He didn't live for millions of years, and he didn't fall from heaven before the creation, like the gap theory folks teach. Not true. He was created during those 6 days, probably on day 1 or day 2. The Bible doesn't tell us when, but it does tell us that he rejoiced when the foundations of the earth were laid. And he was a good guy. At the end of day 6, God looked at everything and said, it's very good. So Satan hadn't fallen yet during them first 6 days, 7 days. So if he rejoiced when the foundations were laid, I think that was probably day 3 when God made the dry land appear. So I just happen to believe all the pieces would fit to say Satan and all the angels were made on day 1 or day 2. And they were all good guys. Then they finally fell, probably 100 years after the creation. All we know is Adam was 130 when Seth was born. That's the first date we've got to go on. Before that, they had Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel got big enough to argue and fight, and one killed the other one. Let's assume they're in their 20s, just to pick a number, okay? Satan could have been in Eden as a good guy for 100 years. He saw Adam and Eve having fellowship with God and said, they really ought to be worshiping me. I'm good looking, I'm handsome, I'm rich and strong. He got jealous of God. Satan wanted to be God. I'll show you. It tells the story in Isaiah chapter 14 and again in Ezekiel chapter 28. You can pick up the details of Satan's fall. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? See, what he's done for the last 6,000 years of human history is weaken the nations. He's caused trouble between countries all over the planet. There's a war going on. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will extend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. The 5 I wills of Satan. The problem started in his heart. He saw God and Adam and Eve having fellowship and said, I want to be God. That's caused a lot of trouble because a lot of people took that attitude too. I'll show you in just a minute. The wars through history. In verse 15, God said, Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble and shake the kingdoms? When we finally see Satan cast out, we're all going to say, That's it? That's the guy that did all this? Is that the man that made the nations tremble? How many saw the movie Wizard of Oz? Anybody ever seen Wizard of Oz? Remember that scene when they pull back the curtain and they finally realize it's a little guy pulling the strings, and that's it? That's the guy causing all this trouble? The great Wizard of Oz. That's the attitude we're going to have when we see Satan. Yep, there he is, little old man. We're going to be just shocked at, wow, look at all the trouble he caused. Wizard of Oz, I love that. Satan and his followers are making plans to rule the world like Pinky and the Brain. God is laughing at them. God sees the whole thing. See, we see our little picture of our world. Satan sees a much bigger picture. He wants to control the whole world. God sees a much bigger picture than that. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, the rulers take counsel together against the Lord, against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. God is laughing at their plans to rule the world. Both Pinky and the Brain and Wizard of Oz and the devil and all of them, okay? Ezekiel 28. Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus. Now, this is an interesting chapter. The first 14 verses are to the prince of Tyrus, which was a real man. Later, we'll see him talk about the king of Tyrus, which was Satan behind the prince of Tyrus. So there was a real man. The city of Tyre used to be on an island out in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast. They had 2 forts. They had a fortified city on the shore, but just in case they lost, they had a city out there on the island. And sure enough, what happened when the enemy would conquer the one on shore, they would all move out to the one on the island and stand up on the wall, go, nah, nah, boo, boo, you can't hurt me. So finally, one great conqueror conquered the city on shore and said, that's it, guys, tear everything down and throw everything into the water and build a bridge, build a causeway out to the island. We're going to conquer them out there. So there's a prophecy that Tyre would be cast into the sea and would be a place to spread your nets. And sure enough, they scraped up the dust and threw it in, and you could spread your nets where the city used to be. That's another long story. But Prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God. Thou shalt set thine heart, though thou set thy heart as the heart of God. You think you're God, but you're not. You're just a man. I'm going to show you, Prince of Tyrus. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There's no secret they can hide from thee. The guy must have been pretty smart. He's the king of Tyre. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches. You know, people that have a lot of knowledge sometimes can get really rich. They don't have to be righteous. They can just get rich because they're smart. You know, they know how to manipulate things or work the system. Thou hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. I remember when my brother sold his Harley motorcycle back in 64, 65, somewhere in there. This guy gave him $1,000 in silver dollars. That's when they stopped making the silver dollars. I forget what year it was, right about there. And my dad says, hey, Ross, what are you going to do with that money? He said, I'm going to go spend it and buy another motorcycle. Dad says, I'll buy it off you, give you 1,000 cash. He said, all right, I don't care. So he swapped him 1,000 silver for 1,000 cash. He went and bought another motorcycle. Dad stuck it in the vault. A couple of years later, sold it for $18,000. Anybody remember when silver went sky high like that? What is it now? 30 bucks?
Yeah, it's like $35 an ounce.
It was. What used to be an ounce of silver was $1. Now silver has not gone up. Money has gone down. It takes more paper money to buy the same thing. Okay. That's another long story. Okay. And verse 5. But by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, thou hast increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. This almost always happens. When somebody gets rich, they get proud and cocky. How many have known people that were nice people until they got rich? Something happened, something snapped inside, like, wow, who they think their sweat don't stink anymore. I don't know. Anyway, therefore, thus saith the Lord God, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I'm a God? You're going to tell the guy about to kill you, you can't kill me, I'm God. Oh, watch this. And no God. Thou shalt be a man and no God, in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I've spoken it, saith the Lord God. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus. Now here, it's switching over to Satan, who was the man behind the prince of Tyrus. And say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Where's a clue? Satan was in Eden. Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardius, topaz, diamond, he names all the stones here. In the day that thou wast created. Oh, here's another clue. He was created. And everything was created in 6 days. So Lucifer is not eternal. He's created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. Now, I can't figure it out. I've studied it till my brain hurts. There are angels, archangels, cherub, cherubim, seraphim. That's the 5 that are named. Maybe there's more different types of creatures up in heaven. I can't figure out who's who or what's what, but he was a cherub. Some people say he was an angel. Maybe so. I don't know if that's the same thing or not. But thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. I would love to understand that verse. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created. There's a second time God says Lucifer was created. Till iniquity was found in thee. I just pick a number and say, I think that was 100 years later. He got jealous of the fellowship they had with God. He was watching them praising God, thinking, they ought to be praising me. How many people make great assistants to the boss and they work hard for years until they get jealous and say, I really ought to take over that company. Yeah. That's sad, isn't it?
You see that in the mob a lot too, or some.
In the mob, yeah, take over the mob. Do you have something there, brother?
Do you think it's possible that Lucifer ate of the tree himself?
That Lucifer ate of the tree himself. I never thought about that. But he told Eve, you can be like God. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. Thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquity. You can read the whole Ezekiel passage for yourself, Ezekiel 28. See, the serpent said to the woman, I think after Satan got kicked out of heaven, he went back to the garden, said to the woman, ye shall not surely die. Because he asked her, hey, why don't you eat off that tree? She said, oh, we can't eat off that tree because God said we'll die. He said, you won't die. He's raising doubts in her mind about what God said. And Satan's been using that ever since. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Eve, you do what I say, honey. You get to be God. Wow. So the Lord, when God later cursed them for disobeying, the Lord God said to the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Now here's the key. It shall bruise thy head. He's telling the serpent, the devil, someday some seed of the woman is going to bruise your head. So he decided right then and there, oh yeah, well then I'm going to kill every human being on the planet. I don't know which one's going to get me, but I'm going to kill them all so there were none left. So this idea of lowering the population comes from Satan wanting to reduce the population, to get rid of the one that's going to bruise his head. And unto Adam he said, because you ate off the tree, cursed is the ground for thy sake. Now you got to work. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread. Adam, now you got to work. Up until then, run around, eat all you want, all the fruit's growing right there. I mean, just no job to do. Till the garden. I mean, prune the trees. What a job. Just enjoy life. Enjoy. God's going to fix it back one day, and we're going to get to have that, okay? Just enjoy nature. But for now, we got to work. See, Satan hates humanity. Started off with 2 people, ended up with who knows how many, and then the flood destroyed them all, except for 8. Now it's grown up to 7.5 billion people on the planet. Satan wants to reduce it. Now what he's done, he's convinced a bunch of super rich bazillionaires that want a new world order, a one world government. You guys ought to reduce the population to 500 million. We cover all that on video number 1 of my series, how they want to reduce the population and why. Satan's goal is to reduce it to 0. Here's the big picture, and here's how it ties in. God's plan, fill the creation with people. He told Adam and Eve, go have a bunch of kids. He gave them the equipment to do it and the desire to do it and plenty of space to do it. Go have a bunch of kids. And obey his wise laws and live in peace. Use the preaching of his word to win people's souls and go to live with him in heaven forever. That's God's plan. Satan's plan. Reduce the population to 0. He promised secret knowledge. Eve, you can be like God, knowing good and evil. How would you like to know things God knows? Oh, yeah, okay. Use the teaching of evolution to get people to accomplish his goals. We'll get into that in a minute. He wants people to go to hell without Christ forever. So Satan started the idea, the completely insane, stupid idea, that it all began billions of years ago when a dot of nothing exploded, rapidly expanded, and became everything we have today. This is straight from the textbook. Is this the kind of stuff they teach your kids in school? Started with nothing. Slowly, it cooled down and became a rock. Then the rock got rained on and turned into soup, and the soup came alive and slowly became a primate and then became man. Here we are. Look at that. There's the earth forming. Here we are, primates. There's man. We finally learned how to write 0.00001 billion years ago. Let's see. Started off like a protista and slowly became a fish, and here we are. Is this kind of stuff in the textbooks that kids are learning from today? Yeah. Yep, we started off as a single-celled ancestor and slowly became, it's the same lie, ye shall be as gods. Keep evolving, honey. You get to be God. An atheist. Huh?
I think I'm on stage 2.
You're on stage 2? Okay. An atheist is a person that does not believe in God. An agnostic, which the word simply means ignorant, is a person who does not care if there's a God. A humanist is a person who believes man is God. Big difference. Man is God asleep. This is the attitude many religions have. Los Angeles Times, Science and Religion. God didn't make man. Man made gods. A list of people who considered deities. People, their followers thought they were God. Let's see, the pharaohs, the Japanese emperors, the Chinese emperors, Dalai Lama, Hitler, goes on and on. They did not like to retain God in their knowledge, so God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. They didn't want to remember the real God. Do humanists believe in a supreme being? Emphatically, yes, that supreme being is man. Humanists have no knowledge of any being more supreme. Aaron Ra has no knowledge of anybody more supreme than man, does he? Yet. He will. All you atheists out there, Simon Dan, and who else have we debated? Creepy Blinder. They all think they're God. Or, there's nothing higher than man. You will find out one day. The turning point in history would be the moment that man becomes aware that the only God of man is man himself. This is what the humanist philosophy is. See, what you believe determines completely how you behave. Your belief determines your behavior. I'm God. And He behaved that way, didn't he? Kill anybody who disagrees with him. He's giving a speech at Nuremberg. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. Hey, Gabriel, come here and listen to this guy, huh? I love it. So what is happening today, folks? You keep your eye on the news. I said when I wrote my book, I published it in 2013, I said, I think it's going to start in 2021 in the fall. Trouble going to hit planet Earth. It's going to get progressively worse for 3.5 years, and then it's going to get really bad for the next 3.5 years. Get my chart on that topic if you want more on what's going to happen. No, I'm not setting a date, and if it doesn't happen this year, no. But does anybody else just feel like it's already beginning with all the stuff going on? It's coming, folks. Get my chart for $10 on that, or the big chart, wherever it is, over there for $25. Huge chart. Okay, we're here for the tribulation. Get my video series. Whoa, what on earth is about to happen? It's coming, folks. $100 for what, 20 some hours. Count up how many hours that is someday, would you, somebody? Okay, I did video number 5, Dangers of Evolution, as part of my series. When they came and arrested me, they said, get every DVD number 5 you can find. This is the one they wanted. It's part of the series. You can get the whole thing for $50. Because I talk about and expose the philosophy of communism, socialism, Nazism, Marxism, and the New World Order. Communism is based on the evolution theory that removes God from authority and puts man in his place. Communism says there's no God. Well, who makes the rules then? Man does. Communism is the goal, said Roger Baldwin, the founder of the ACLU, the American Communist Lawyers Union. Moses Mordecai Marx, I called him Karl Marx, at age 17 wrote a beautiful paper telling of his love for the Lord. Then he went off to college and studied philosophy and turned his back on God. 75% of kids raised in Christian homes who attend public schools reject the Christian faith by their first year of college. I've had thousands of parents call me and say, my kid was doing great, went off to college, and they destroyed their faith. We've had thousands call us and say, your videos brought them back. You get calls every day like that, don't you? Thank you for those videos. My objective in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism, Karl Marx said. He based his philosophy of communism on evolution. Darwin's book is very important and serves me as a basis in natural science for the class struggle in history. You can't see, that's why this evolution theory is so important. It's the foundation of communism. It goes right back to Solomon giving wisdom to his son. Son, money is how it starts. And communism is based on the idea everybody has to work. You work to the best of your ability, but we divide the money up evenly. We all get the same amount. Doesn't matter if you work hard. Everybody gets the same. Doesn't matter if you work at all. Everybody gets the same. Yeah. Karl Marx tried to dedicate his book to Charles Darwin, Das Kapital, dedicated to Charles Darwin from a sincere admirer. You're not going to understand what's going on today until you see how evolution and communism and socialism and Nazism and the love of money all tie together. Karl Marx had 6 children. 3 of them died of starvation while they were babies because he was too lazy to work. He's busy writing his philosophical books, his philosophy of how to save the world, as 3 kids died. 2 others committed suicide. When Marx died in 1883, only 6 people attended his funeral. Here's what Karl Marx came up with as the way to control the world. Abolish private property. That's kind of strange. Watch my video 5. I don't want to go off on a rabbit trail now, but I covered that video 5. Here's his Karl Marx's plan. Number 2 is the one they came and arrested me for just mentioning, another long story. The rules for revolution. How are we going to take over? Corrupt the young. Get them away from religion. Break down the old moral virtues. Encourage civil disorders and a soft attitude toward crime. Divide the people into hostile groups. Get the people's minds off their government. Focus their attention on athletics and sex and TV and stuff like that. Get control of all the media. Why did they ban my YouTube? Because of something I said?
Medical misinformation.
Medical misinformation. Why would they want to get control of all the media? They can control what people hear and believe then, can't they? Yeah.
Say, take this shot or get this mark.
Take this mark, get this shot, do that, whatever. Yeah. Unreal. One of Satan's key players in this war against God was a guy named James Hutton. James Hutton wrote a book called Theory of the Earth. In that book, he said the Earth is much older than we think. Up until that time, almost everybody could add up the dates in the Bible and say, well, the Earth is about 6,000 years old. I mean, add up the dates. They're in Genesis 5 and Genesis 11. Put them together. Not complicated. So most people taught the Earth was 6,000 years old. James Hutton said, oh, no, it's much older than that. Take over the world. Here's the plan. You got to understand, this was at a time when there were many revolutions going on in the world. We had the American Revolution, 1776, about time to throw the tea in the harbor again, guys. Okay. You had the French Revolution, the Spanish, the Polish, the Italian, the German. During this time of anti-monarchy, James Hutton wrote his book. In the 1700s, James Hutton, when everybody thought the Earth was a few thousand years old, James Hutton came along and said, oh, no, it's much older than that. He hypothesized that it took much longer than a few thousand years to form the layers of rock. So it all goes back to these rock layers, like Grand Canyon or the geologic column, which does not exist anywhere. James Hutton's book had a profound influence on a lawyer named Sir Charles Lyell. Lyell hated the Bible. He was a lawyer from Scotland. Somebody told me one time they calculated that if all the lawyers in the world were laid end to end around the equator, we would all be better off. Charles Lyell wrote this book, Principles of Geology, 1830. It's in here, where he invented the stupid geologic column, which does not exist anywhere. Guys, there's no such thing as a Jurassic period. No such thing as any of these periods. Anyway, I myself have little doubt that in England, the long-age uniformitarian geology and the theory of evolution changed us from a Christian to a pagan nation. Anyway, Darwin brought Lyell's book with him when he sailed around for 5 years. Darwin couldn't find a job, so his dad knew a guy who owned a ship. They were going to travel around for 5 years. He said, would you feed my son for 5 years? Take him with you. He can collect bugs and birds. So Charlie Darwin, a complete loser, traveled around for 5 years, collecting bugs and birds for somebody back in England, because they would feed him on the boat for 5 years. While he was there, he took Lyell's book with him. That book changed his life. Darwin's philosophy was influenced by Charles Lyell and Thomas Malthus, who said, more babies are produced than can possibly survive, so it's really best if the weakest ones die off. Here's the history. Hutton's book came out 1795. People began to doubt the age of the earth. Lyell's book made people doubt the flood. Darwin's book made people doubt the creator. And for the next 50 years, there were all kinds of wars and revolutions going on. Humanism, racism, Nazism, communism, plans for a new world order. Hoyle said, I'm haunted by a conviction that the nihilistic philosophy, which so-called educated opinion chose to adopt following publication of Origin of Species, committed us to an automatic self-destruction. Darwin said, a cold shudder has run through me if I've asked myself whether I may have devoted myself to a fantasy. Well, Charlie, now you know, don't you? It was a fantasy. Here's the 4 great questions in life. Who am I? What am I worth? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going when I die? If a kid is taught evolution, how does he answer those questions? Would his answers be different than a kid who's taught there's a creator?
Absolutely.
Completely backwards philosophy. Some people look at the world and say, wow, there must be a designer. That's the creationist worldview. Other people look at the world, God created the world. Other people say, oh, it's amazing. A big bang made all this from nothing. Yep. Where'd my globe go here? The whole planet came from a dot smaller than a period on a page. Guys, I'll give you $1,000 if you can squeeze a gallon of milk into a dot smaller than a period on a page. Try it. Come on. All you atheists, let's see it. It's a humanist worldview. Humanists regard the universe as self-existing and not created. See, there's only 2 possibilities. Either there is a God or there isn't. Both possibilities are frightening.
Yeah.
So, Solomon's trying to teach his son a proper philosophy of life, how to look at everything in life from God's perspective. Kids that believe evolution have a different philosophy. Hitler said, you let me control the textbooks, I'll control the state. Let's see, on teaching how to teach evolution by Richard Dawkins, or forward, resources for teaching natural selection and evolution. Okay, guys, if evolution's true, where do the rules come from? Thou shalt not steal. Question. If you believe in evolution, is it wrong to steal? If you believe it's wrong, tell me why. You can't say because there's a higher authority like God said, can you? Thou shalt not steal. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't lie. Where's the, don't covet your neighbor's house, your neighbor's wife. Don't covet your neighbor's field. Where are the rules? God will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. But Solomon said, boys, if you work hard, if you live righteously, God won't allow you to starve. He casteth away the substance of the wicked. The Lord will pass through. Oh, we're over time here. I'm so sorry. One more verse. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. How many have ever had to spend a whole bunch of extra money because you're a little too lazy to get up and shut the heater off, or too lazy to go change oil in your car when it needed it? Or he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. We'll cover more on Proverbs later. So God gave a lot of wisdom to Solomon. He's trying to pass it on to his boys. And boys, a lot of this goes right back to money. Money's not bad. The love of money is the root of all evil. All right, we're over time here. Sorry. Questions, comments, anything here?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think about the chapter in Ezekiel about the cherubim with the ever-turning fiery sword? I don't know what it's
The sword that turneth every which way and had 4 wheels and all that, the wheels within the wheels.
Yeah, that must be.
I've read it till my brain hurts. I don't know. I think we're going to get to heaven and say, "Oh, now I see." But right now, I don't see it. If you do, just call me and let me know. All right, other questions?
What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, that's a tough call. I haven't decided yet, so I try to sample them all every time.
Right now, I think it's Butterfinger.
Butterfinger, butter pecan, Snickers. Yeah, that's a tough call. That's a tough. Butterfinger, probably, yeah.
I got a question. Okay, so when God created Adam and Eve, he gave dominion of the world over to them.
Right.
But Satan's plan had to have been effective enough because he stole the control of the earth because he couldn't have offered it to Jesus.
Right. He's now Prince of Power of the air, and he offered it to Jesus, right? If you follow me. So that's another.
He had some kind of, I don't know, spiritually legal way to obtain
the
dominion of
title.
earth.
Yeah.
So,
Because of the sin.
right. So, he must still have some hope of re-obtaining it by eliminating enough humans.
He controls it now.
He, certainly, they've gained control of the media and everything else, and so.
So that's, I guess my question is there
Is some kind of title to the earth?
law
Yeah.
that there's a title to the
That's-
earth that's available?
Somebody else had to figure that out. I don't know. I know this, that each of us as God's children, we are living in hostile territory. They don't like us. They don't want us here. They want to kill us. And you got to keep that in mind. We're on defense. They have a goal. We're standing in the way. What does the football player do when he's got the football and he wants to get across that line and you're in the way?
Either run you over or
He'll
run around you.
Run you over or run around you. Yeah. We are the obstacle to Satan ruling the world, and Christians are hated and going to get much worse in the next couple of years, much worse. And it's going to get to the point where the ones who kill you, they're going to think they do God a service.
They're doing it now.
Yep.
That'll be-
Who was the missionary to the Muslim country where it's only 1% Christian and 99% Muslim? Was it yesterday we were talking to? It's coming like a freight train. It's coming here. You watch. Okay, thank you. Any more?
That's it.
That's it. All right, I believe it's Camp 31 today. Is that right? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Eyes are above the nose. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you. Bye.